These stories come from people who experienced something terrifying while camping alone. Whether they chose the solitude or were abandoned by circumstance, they all learned the same lesson. When you're truly alone in the woods, you're never really alone. Something is always watching, always waiting. Here are their stories. Story 1. The Solo Backpacking Trip. Submitted by Michael R. from Vermont. I went solo camping to clear my head after my divorce. I wanted isolation. I wanted silence. I got something much worse. This was October 2023. I'd been planning a solo trip to the Green Mountains for months. My therapist said it would be good for me. Time to process, time to heal. Just me and nature. I hiked in about 15 miles. Found a perfect spot near a creek, set up my tent, made a fire, cooked dinner. The silence was incredible. No voices, no arguments, no lawyers, just the sound of water and wind. I went to sleep around 10 p.m., feeling more peaceful than I had in months. I woke up at 2:47 a.m. to complete silence. Not peaceful silence, wrong silence. The creek had stopped. No wind, no insects, nothing. I lay in my tent, listening to nothing, and felt every hair on my body stand up. Then I heard footsteps, slow, deliberate, circling my tent. The footsteps were heavy. Whatever was walking around me was big. I held my breath, told myself it was a bear. Just a bear investigating my camp. It would leave. But bears don't walk in perfect circles. Bears don't maintain the exact same pace. Bears don't stop directly outside your tent door and stand there for 5 minutes without making a sound. I could hear breathing, right outside the thin fabric, deep, slow breaths, like someone standing there, waiting for me to make a move. I didn't move, didn't make a sound, just lay there, frozen, praying it would leave. After what felt like hours, the footsteps resumed, continuing the circle around my tent, around and around and around. I counted 47 circles, 47 times around my tent. Never stopping, never changing pace. Then, at exactly 4 a.m., it stopped. The normal sounds returned. Creek flowing, wind rustling leaves, insects chirping. Whatever had been circling my tent was gone. I waited until sunrise. Didn't sleep, just lay there, watching the tent fabric lighten as dawn approached. When I finally worked up the courage to look outside, I found footprints in the soft dirt around my tent. Barefoot prints, human-sized, but wrong. The toes were too long, the arch was too high, and they were deep. Whatever made them was heavy, much heavier than a person should be. The prints circled my tent exactly 47 times. Then they walked away, straight into the woods. I followed them for maybe 20 yards. Then they stopped, just ended. Like whatever made them had simply ceased to exist. I packed up immediately, hiked out, didn't stop until I reached my car. I reported it to the park rangers. The guy I talked to, older man named Dave, didn't seem surprised. He asked me which trail I'd been on. When I told him, he got quiet. That's the third report this month, he said. Always the same thing. Solo campers, middle of the night, something circling their tent. Barefoot prints that don't look quite human. What is it? I asked. He shook his head. We don't know. We've had biologists look at the prints. They can't identify them. Not bear, not human, not any animal they recognize. Some of the old-timers say these mountains have always had something in them. Something that doesn't like people being alone. Something that tests them. Tests them how? We don't know. Because everyone who stays in their tent, who doesn't run, who survives the night, they all leave the next morning. Nobody's ever stayed a second night after experiencing it. So we don't know what happens if you stay, what it does if you pass the test, or fail it. I asked if anyone had ever disappeared from that area. Dave pulled out a file, showed me records going back 30 years. 7 people had gone missing from that section of the Green Mountains. All of them were solo campers. All of them were last seen at night. None of them were ever found. But we found their tents, Dave said. All of them, set up perfectly. Sleeping bags still inside. food and gear untouched, but the campers gone, like they walked into the woods in the middle of the night and never came back. He showed me photos, 7 different campsites, 7 different tents, and around each tent, in the soft dirt, the same barefoot prints circling over and over. How many circles? I asked. Dave checked the reports. Different amounts. 23, 31, 16, 42, 51, 38, and 64. What does that mean? We don't know, but we think it's counting something, measuring something. And when it reaches the right number, he didn't finish. I thanked him and left. Drove straight home. Haven't been camping since. But here's the thing that keeps me awake at night. Last week, I woke up at 2:47 a.m. My bedroom was silent, too silent, and I heard footsteps in my hallway. Slow, deliberate, circling. I counted. It walked around my house 7 times, then stopped outside my bedroom door. I could hear breathing, right outside. Deep, slow breaths. Then it left, and normal sounds returned. I checked outside in the morning. Barefoot prints in my yard, circling my house 7 times. Same prints I saw in Vermont. It followed me home. Whatever I encountered in those mountains, it marked me somehow. And now it visits me. Circles my house, counts. I don't know what number it's waiting for. I don't know what happens when it reaches that number. But I'm terrified that one night, I'm going to hear those footsteps, count the circles, and realize it's reached the final count. And then I'll find out what happened to those 7 missing campers, because I'll become number 8. Story 2. The Abandoned Campsite, submitted by Rachel P. from Montana. I found a campsite that looked freshly abandoned. Fire still warm, food on the table, tent still set up, but no people. I should have left immediately. Instead, I stayed. Biggest mistake of my life. Last July, I was backpacking alone through Glacier National Park. Day 3 of a 5-day trip. I was following a less traveled trail when I smelled smoke. Wood smoke. A campfire. I followed the smell and found a campsite. Small clearing. 1 tent. Fire pit with flames still going. A camp stove on a folding table with a pot of soup still steaming. But no people. I called out. Hello? Anyone here? No answer. Just wind and trees. I walked around the site. Everything was there. Backpack leaning against a tree. Sleeping bag in the tent. Clothes hanging on a line. A book on the ground, open face down like someone had been reading it. It looked like someone had just stepped away for a minute. Gone to collect firewood or use the bathroom. But something felt wrong. The soup was still hot, like it had been cooking minutes ago. But the fire looked like it had been burning for hours. Coals deep and glowing. I should have left. Should have reported it to rangers. But I was exhausted. Had been hiking for 8 hours. And this campsite was perfect. Much better than anything I'd find before dark. I convinced myself the camper would come back. We'd share the site. I'd help them with their fire. It would be fine. I set up my tent near theirs, sat by the fire, waited. An hour passed. 2 hours. The sun was setting. Still no camper. I checked their tent again. Inside was a journal. I know I shouldn't have looked, but I was worried. What if the person was hurt? Lost? I opened it. The last entry was dated that morning. Day 4. Something's wrong with this place. I keep hearing voices calling my name from the woods. But when I look, there's no one there. Last night I woke up, and my campfire was moved. Not the logs. The entire fire pit. It was 10 feet from where I'd built it. I know I didn't move it. I know I built it where I remember. But now it's somewhere else. I'm leaving tomorrow. First light. I don't care about finishing the trail. I need to get out of here. My blood went cold. I looked at the fire pit, then at the ground around it. There were marks in the dirt. Drag marks. Like something had moved the pit. Recently. I stood up fast. Started packing my stuff. I was leaving. Right now. Dark or not. That's when I heard my name. Rachel. Soft. Distant. coming from the woods. Rachel, help. I froze. Who knew my name? I was alone. The missing camper didn't know me. Rachel, please. The voice sounded like my sister. Exactly like her. But my sister was in Montana, 600 miles away. Rachel, I'm lost. Help me. I grabbed my flashlight, shined it into the woods. Nothing. Don't play games, I yelled. That's not funny. I'm not playing. I need help, please. The voice was moving, circling the campsite, sometimes close, sometimes far. Always my sister's voice, always begging for help. I called my sister on my satellite phone. She answered immediately. Rachel, you okay? Where are you right now? Home. Watching TV. Why? You sound scared. I'm fine. Just stay on the line with me for a minute. I heard the voice again. Rachel, why aren't you helping me? But my real sister was on the phone, talking to me, asking what was wrong. Whatever was in those woods, it wasn't my sister. It was something else. Something that knew my name. Something that could perfectly mimic her voice. I'm leaving, I told my sister. Something's wrong here. I'm hiking out. Now? It's almost dark. I don't care. I need to leave. I packed fast, grabbed my essentials, left the rest, started hiking back the way I'd come. The voice followed me. Rachel, don't leave. I need you. It stayed just out of sight, just beyond the range of my flashlight, following me down the trail. My sister stayed on the phone, talking to me, keeping me calm. I hiked for 3 hours in the dark, following the trail markers with my flashlight. The voice never stopped, never got closer, never fell behind, just followed, calling my name, begging me to help. At 11 p.m., I reached a ranger station, burst through the door. 2 rangers inside looked startled. There's an abandoned campsite, I gasped. Mile marker 42. Someone's missing. And something's in the woods. Something that talks. They exchanged glances. The older ranger stood up. You stayed at that campsite? Yes. For maybe 2 hours. Then I heard, you heard your name. Someone calling for help. Someone who sounded like family. I nodded. How did you know? Because 3 other people reported the same thing this summer. An abandoned campsite. Fresh fire. Hot food. No camper. And then voices. Always voices of people they know. Always calling for help. What is it? The ranger pulled out a map, marked an X on it. That campsite keeps appearing. We've tried to find it during the day. Remove it. But it's never there when we look. Only solo hikers find it. Only at the end of the day when they're tired. When they're looking for a place to camp. Why? We don't know. But we think it's bait. Someone or something sets it up. Fresh fire. Hot food. Everything you need. Tempting you to stay. And if you stay after dark, the voices start, luring you into the woods. Did the other hikers? Did they follow the voices? The ranger's face darkened. 2 of them did. We found them the next morning, about a mile from the campsite. They were alive, but wrong. They couldn't speak. Couldn't respond to questions, just stared, like something had broken in their minds. We had to hospitalize them. They've been catatonic for months. And the third person? She did what you did. Ran. Hiked out in the dark. She made it. But she reported the same thing you did. The voice followed her for hours. All the way to the ranger station. I spent the night at the station. Rangers drove me to the trailhead in the morning. I went home. Cut my trip short. But the voice didn't stop. I still hear it sometimes. Late at night, when I'm alone. My sister's voice, calling from somewhere. Asking why I left her. Asking why I didn't help. I know it's not real. I know my sister's safe. But the voice sounds so real, so desperate. And part of me wonders, what if I'd followed it? What if I'd gone into those woods? What would I have found? What did those 2 hikers find before their minds broke? I don't think I want to know, but the voice keeps calling. And I'm afraid that one night, I won't be strong enough to resist. One night, I'll walk out my door and follow that voice into the darkness. And I'll find out exactly what's waiting in those woods. What sets the bait? What calls your name? What breaks your mind when you finally answer? Story 3. The Snowstorm Shelter. Submitted by Kevin T. from Colorado. A freak snowstorm trapped me in my tent for 2 days. When I finally got out, I realized I'd been hearing things that couldn't possibly be real. And I have proof. March 2024. I know, stupid time to go camping. But I'm an experienced winter camper. I check weather reports. I prepare. This trip should have been fine. I was camping in Roosevelt National Forest. Solo trip. 3 days planned. First day was perfect. Clear skies. Cold but manageable. Day 2. The weather changed. Fast. By noon, it was snowing hard. By 3 p.m., it was a whiteout. Wind so strong I couldn't stand up. Temperature dropping fast. I secured my tent as best I could. Got inside. Sealed myself in. Waited for it to pass. Weather reports said the storm would last 6 hours. It lasted 48. 2 days trapped in a tent. I had enough food. Enough water from melted snow. I was okay physically, but mentally, that's when things got strange. First night, I heard footsteps outside, crunching in the snow, circling my tent. I figured it was an animal, deer maybe, looking for shelter. But the footsteps were too rhythmic, too purposeful, and they never stopped, just circled, over and over, all night long. When dawn came, the footsteps stopped. I unzipped my tent to look outside. The snow was too deep, 4 feet of powder surrounding me. I couldn't see any footprints, couldn't see anything but white. I zipped the tent back up, waited, hoped the storm would break. Second night, the footsteps came back. But this time, there were voices. Kevin, Kevin, we know you're in there. Male voice, deep, unfamiliar. Kevin, we've been waiting for you. Waiting so long. More voices joined in. A chorus, men, women, children, all saying my name, all saying they'd been waiting. Come out, Kevin. Come see us. We have so much to show you. I covered my ears, tried to block it out, but the voices got louder, pressing against the tent. Like dozens of people were surrounding me, all talking at once. He's scared. He won't come out. He doesn't trust us. Make him come out. Make him see. Make him see. Kevin, Kevin, come out. I was crying, terrified. I grabbed my phone, started recording audio. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted proof. Maybe I was so scared I wasn't thinking straight. The voices continued for hours, begging, demanding, threatening, promising, all while footsteps circled endlessly in the snow. Then, around 4 a.m., silence, sudden and complete. I didn't sleep, just lay there, waiting for dawn. When the sun rose, the storm had passed. I dug myself out. Took me 2 hours to clear enough snow to collapse my tent and pack up. The snow around my tent was smooth, undisturbed, no footprints, no sign anyone had been there. But I had the recording. I checked my phone. 6 hours of audio. I put in my earbuds and played it back. My hands started shaking. Because the recording was clear. Crystal clear. And it had captured everything. The footsteps, the voices, all of it. This wasn't in my head. This was real. Whatever had surrounded my tent, my phone had recorded it. I hiked out that morning. Took me 8 hours through deep snow. Made it to my car. Drove straight to the ranger station. I showed them the recording. The ranger on duty listened to the whole thing. His face got paler with each minute. When it finished, he asked me where exactly I'd been camping. I showed him on a map. He pulled out a file. Inside were incident reports, going back 10 years. 13 solo campers had reported similar experiences in that area. Voices in the night, footsteps in the snow, always during storms. Always when they were trapped and alone. Did anyone record it before? I asked. No. You're the first. The first proof that this is real. That it's not just fear or isolation playing tricks. What do we do with this? He made a copy of my recording. Said he'd send it to researchers, people who study unexplained phenomena. Maybe they could identify the voices, figure out what they were. That was 8 months ago. I never heard back. I tried following up. The ranger station said they'd sent the recording to the University of Colorado. The university said they never received it. The ranger I'd spoken to had quit. No one knew where he went. My recording was gone. The only copy I had was on my phone. But when I went to play it back, the file was corrupted. Wouldn't open. I tried data recovery. Nothing. The recording was gone. Like someone didn't want proof to exist. Didn't want evidence that something is in those mountains. Something that surrounds solo campers during storms. Something that calls their names. Begs them to come out. I've tried going back. Tried to recreate the conditions. But I can't. Every time I plan a solo winter trip, something stops me. Car breaks down. I get sick. Weather changes. Like I'm not supposed to go back. Like whatever I encountered doesn't want to see me again. Or maybe it does. Maybe it's waiting for me. Waiting for me to return. Waiting to finish whatever it started that night. Sometimes I still hear them. The voices. Late at night when it's snowing. Calling my name. Saying they're still waiting. And I wonder what would have happened if I'd opened that tent. If I'd stepped out into the snow. If I'd gone to see what was calling me. What would I have found? Who were all those voices? Were they people who'd made that mistake before me? People who'd answered the call? Are they still out there? Trapped in the snow? Waiting for the next solo camper to join them? I don't know, and I'm too afraid to find out. Story 4. The Trail Camera. Submitted by David S. from Washington. I set up a trail camera to see what animals visited my campsite at night. What I captured wasn't an animal, and I can't explain what it was doing. August 2023. I'd been solo camping for years. I'd always loved it. The solitude. The connection with nature. Never had problems. I'm also an amateur wildlife photographer. I bring trail cameras. Set them up around my campsite. See what comes by at night. I've gotten great footage of deer, elk, even a mountain lion once. This trip was in the Cascade Mountains. Remote area. I hiked in about 10 miles. Set up camp near a small lake. Beautiful spot. Perfect weather. I set up 3 trail cameras. One pointed at the lake. One on the trail leading to my camp. One pointed at my tent from about 30 feet away. All set to record on motion detection. First night was normal. Cooked dinner. Watched the sunset. Went to sleep around 10 p.m. Woke up the next morning feeling great. Checked my cameras. The lake camera had caught some deer drinking at dawn. The trail camera had nothing. But the camera pointed at my tent. I watched the footage on my phone. At first, nothing unusual. Just my tent. Occasionally me moving inside, creating shadows on the fabric. Then, at 1:37 a.m., something entered the frame. It was tall, maybe 7 feet, humanoid shape, but it moved wrong. Its joints bent at odd angles. Its arms were too long. When it walked, it didn't bob up and down like a person. It glided. The thing approached my tent slowly, stopped about 5 feet away, and then it just stood there, staring at the tent, for 40 minutes, completely still, not swaying, not shifting weight, just frozen, watching. At 2:17 a.m., it moved again, walked a complete circle around my tent. But the way it moved, its legs bent backward at the knees. Like a bird, no person could walk like that. After completing the circle, it returned to its original position and stood there, watching, for another hour. At 3:19 a.m., it leaned down, slowly, bringing its head closer to the tent. I couldn't see its face clearly in the infrared footage, just a pale oval, no features visible. It stayed bent down for 20 minutes, like it was listening, or smelling, or something else. Then, at 3:41 a.m., it stood up, turned, and walked out of frame. That same backward jointed walk, gliding, wrong. I watched the footage 3 times, hands shaking. What the hell was that thing? and it had been 5 feet from me, standing there, watching me sleep, and I'd had no idea. I packed up immediately, didn't care that I'd planned 3 more days. I grabbed my cameras and hiked out, made it to my car by noon. At home, I reviewed all the footage more carefully, enhanced it, zoomed in, tried to get a better look at the thing's face. When I finally got a clear frame, I wished I hadn't, because it didn't have a face. Not really, just smooth skin, like someone had stretched flesh over a skull and smoothed out all the features. No eyes, no nose, no mouth, just blank. But it had been watching my tent for hours. How do you watch without eyes? I posted the footage online. Wildlife forums, cryptid communities, everywhere I could think of. Thousands of people saw it. Dozens of experts analyzed it. Most said it was fake, CGI, a person in a costume. But some people recognized it, said they'd seen similar things, always at remote campsites, always watching tents at night, always moving with that backward jointed walk. One person sent me a message, said his trail camera had caught something similar in Oregon 3 years ago. Same behavior, standing outside a tent for hours, watching. He said he'd reported it to authorities, showed them the footage. They'd taken his camera, said they needed to analyze it. He never got it back. They told him the footage was inconclusive. Probably a bear standing upright, but he knew what he'd seen, and it wasn't a bear. I kept my footage, backed it up everywhere. Cloud storage, hard drives, sent copies to friends. I wasn't going to let it disappear. 2 weeks later, I got a knock on my door. 2 men in suits. Said they were from the Department of Wildlife. They'd heard about my footage, wanted to see it, wanted to examine my cameras. Something felt wrong. I asked for ID. They showed me badges, but the badges looked off, like props. Not quite right. I told them I didn't have the footage anymore, deleted it. They didn't believe me, asked to come inside, search my house. I refused. They stood on my porch for 10 minutes, trying to convince me, getting more aggressive. Finally, they left. But I saw their car parked down the street for the next 3 days, watching my house. I've stopped camping. Too afraid. Because that thing knew where I was. It found me in the middle of nowhere, miles from anything, and it watched me for hours. What was it looking for? What was it waiting for? And what would it have done if I'd woken up? If I'd opened my tent and seen it standing there? I don't want to know, but I think about it every night. I think about that blank face pressed close to my tent, that impossible body standing perfectly still for hours. And I wonder how many other solo campers have been watched. How many people have something standing outside their tent right now, in the dark, studying them, waiting? How many of them have trail cameras? How many have proof? And how many had that proof taken away by men in suits with fake badges? I still have my footage, hidden, encrypted, but I'm afraid to share it anymore. Afraid of who might come looking for it. Afraid of what they might do to keep it secret. Because something is in those woods. Something that watches campers, and someone wants to keep it hidden. I just don't know which is more terrifying. The thing that watched me, or the people who don't want anyone to know it exists. Story 5. The Reflection, submitted by Jennifer L. from Maine. I was camped by a perfectly still lake. When I looked at my reflection in the water, it wasn't moving with me. It was doing something else. Something I would do 3 hours later. September 2024. Solo camping trip in Acadia National Park. I'd done the trip a dozen times. Same campsite by the same lake. My favorite spot. I arrived around 4 p.m., set up my tent, made dinner, sat by the lake watching the sunset. The water was completely still, like glass. Perfect mirror. Around 7 p.m., I walked to the edge, looked at my reflection. That's when I noticed something wrong. My reflection waved at me, but I wasn't waving. My hands were at my sides. I jerked back, looked again. My reflection was standing normally now, matching my movements. I must have imagined it, tired from the hike, eyes playing tricks in the fading light. I went back to my campsite, started a fire, made coffee, tried to forget about it. At 8 p.m., I needed to fill my water bottle. Walked back to the lake. The surface was still perfectly smooth. I knelt down, looked at my reflection. It was packing up my tent. I could see it clearly in the water. My reflection was at my campsite, taking down the tent, rolling up the sleeping bag, moving fast. Panicked, but I was kneeling by the lake. My tent was still standing. I could see it behind me, set up and fine. I stood up fast, looked at my campsite. Everything was normal. Looked back at the lake. My reflection showed me kneeling again, matching my movements. What the hell was happening? I went back to camp, sat by the fire, tried to rationalize it. The lake was playing tricks, some kind of optical illusion, something in the water creating false images. But I couldn't shake the feeling of dread. My reflection had been packing up, like it was leaving, running from something. At 9 p.m., curiosity won. I walked to the lake again, looked at the water. My reflection was running, sprinting through the woods. I could see trees blurring past, see my reflection's face twisted in terror, see it looking over its shoulder at something behind it. But I was standing still, calm, nothing chasing me. I watched for maybe 30 seconds. Then my reflection in the water fell, tripped over something, scrambled to get up, kept running. I stepped back from the lake, heart pounding. This wasn't an illusion. This was something else. The lake was showing me something. A warning? A vision? I didn't know. I went back to camp and packed up everything. Put it in my tent but kept it ready. If I needed to run, I could grab my pack and go. At 10:30 p.m., I made myself go back to the lake one more time. I had to know. My reflection was in my tent, sitting in the corner, completely still. But the way it sat, it was trying to be small, trying to hide, and it was staring at the tent entrance, terrified, like something was outside, like something was about to come in. I ran back to my tent, grabbed my pack. I was leaving, right now. I didn't care that it was dark. I didn't care about the 3-mile hike to my car. I was getting out. I started hiking at 11 p.m., used my headlamp, moved fast, kept looking behind me, expecting to see something chasing me, but the trail was empty. At 11:42 p.m., I tripped, rooted across the trail, went down hard, scraped my hands, twisted my ankle, exactly like my reflection had at 9 p.m. I got up, kept moving, faster now, ignoring the pain in my ankle. I reached my car at 12:15 a.m., threw my pack in the back, started the engine, drove away. I was 5 miles down the road when I checked my rearview mirror. Something was standing in the middle of the road behind me, tall, dark, watching my car disappear. I drove for 3 hours straight, didn't stop until I was home, locked all my doors, closed all my curtains. The next morning, I looked at my hands. The scrapes from when I fell were there, real. I'd tripped exactly when and how my reflection had shown me 3 hours earlier. The lake had shown me the future, shown me what would happen, shown me running through the woods, tripping, hiding in my tent. But I'd left early. I'd changed it. I'd run before whatever was coming arrived. Or had I? Had I changed the future? Or had the lake shown me running specifically so I would run? So I would do exactly what it showed me? I don't know. But I think about the last thing I saw in my reflection. Me in my tent, hiding, terrified, staring at the entrance. What had been outside? What was I waiting for? If I hadn't left at 11 p.m., if I'd stayed in that tent, what would have arrived at midnight? I'll never know, and I'm grateful for that. Because whatever the lake was warning me about, whatever was coming for me, I escaped it. But sometimes I wonder about that lake, about what it shows. And I wonder if other campers have looked into that still water, have seen their reflections doing things they haven't done yet, have seen themselves running, hiding, screaming, and dismissed it as tricks of the light. How many of them stayed? How many didn't heed the warning? How many are still there, in those woods, having experienced whatever fate the lake tried to show them. I'll never camp there again. Never look into that water, because I'm afraid of what else it might show me. What other futures might be reflected in that glass-smooth surface? What other warnings I might see? And what might happen if I ignore them? Story 6. The Duplicate Camp, submitted by Thomas H. from Idaho. I woke up in my tent and walked outside to find my entire campsite duplicated 50 feet away. Same tent, same fire, same everything. But I was alone. Or at least, I thought I was. May 2025. Solo camping in the Sawtooth National Forest. I'd been planning this trip for months. A week alone in the wilderness. No phone, no people, pure isolation. Day 4 was when it happened. I went to sleep in my tent around midnight. Normal night. Nothing unusual. I woke up at dawn, maybe 6 in the morning, unzipped my tent to start my day, and froze. 50 feet away, across the clearing, was my campsite. Exact duplicate. Same green tent. Same positioning. Same rock ring around the fire pit. Same log I'd been using as a chair. Even my hiking boots were outside the tent door. Same placement. Same angle. I looked down at my feet. I was wearing my hiking boots, but there they were. Across the clearing. Outside the other tent. I walked toward the duplicate camp slowly. This had to be some kind of trick. My eyes adjusting to the light. Some weird phenomenon I didn't understand. But as I got closer, it became more real, more solid. This wasn't an illusion. There was another tent, another fire pit, another set of my boots. I called out, "Hello? Is someone here?" No answer. Just birds and wind. I reached the duplicate tent, touched it. Real fabric, real zippers. I opened it. Inside was my sleeping bag, my backpack, my journal. I picked up the journal, opened it to the last entry. It was my handwriting, dated yesterday. The exact entry I'd written before bed. But my journal was in my tent. I'd left it there. I turned around and looked at my original tent, 50 feet away. Could see my journal through the open door, on top of my backpack, where I'd left it. 2 journals, both with the same entries, both in my handwriting. I checked the backpack in the duplicate tent. Same contents as mine, same clothes, same food, same everything. This was a perfect copy of my campsite, down to the smallest detail. But how? And why? I spent an hour comparing the 2 camps, looking for differences. There were none. Everything was identical. Same wear patterns on the tent, same scuffs on my boots, same half-burned logs in the fire pit. I decided to pack up, both camps, take everything, hike out. This was too strange, too wrong. I packed my original tent first, rolled it up, put it in my backpack, walked over to the duplicate tent to pack it up too. It was gone. Not just the tent, everything. The fire pit, the boots, the log chair, all of it. Vanished. Just empty ground, like it had never been there. I stood there, staring at the empty space. My hands were shaking. I'd just been touching that tent. It had been real, solid, and now nothing. I looked at the ground. No impressions where the tent had been. No marks from the fire pit. The grass wasn't even pressed down, like nothing had ever been there. But I'd touched it. I'd opened the journal. I'd seen everything. It was real. I left immediately. Hiked 10 miles back to my car. Didn't stop. Didn't look back. But here's what bothers me most. When I got home and unpacked, I found something in my backpack that wasn't there before. A journal entry I didn't write, on a page that had been blank. It was dated the morning I saw the duplicate camp, written in my handwriting. But I didn't write it. It said, "I woke up this morning and my camp was gone. I'm in a different place now. The trees are the same, but wrong. The sun is too bright. The shadows point the wrong direction. I can see my camp 50 feet away, but I can't reach it. Every time I walk toward it, I end up back where I started. I think I'm stuck here. I think the other me went home, and I'm still here. In this place, this copy, This wrong version. If you're reading this, I'm still here, trying to get back, trying to get home. I checked the handwriting analysis. It's mine. Exactly mine. Same pressure. Same letter formation. Same everything. Which means I wrote it. But I didn't write it. Someone who is me but isn't me wrote it. And they're still out there, in some duplicate version of that forest, trying to get home, watching me live their life. Or maybe I'm the duplicate. Maybe I'm the one who crossed over, and the real me is still in the woods, trapped in some mirror version of reality, writing messages in journals that I'll find. I don't know which is worse, being the copy, or knowing there's a copy of you somewhere, living your life, wearing your face, while you're trapped in an endless forest of duplicates. I haven't gone camping since, too afraid I'll wake up and find another duplicate. Or worse, I'll wake up and realize I'm the duplicate, and I've always been the duplicate. And the real me is somewhere else, somewhere I can't reach, trying desperately to get back to a life that's no longer theirs. Story 7. The Shadow Man. Submitted by Patricia N. from Alaska. My shadow separated from me at sunset. It walked into the woods, and something else took its place. July 2023. Solo backpacking in Denali National Park. 10 days planned. Complete isolation. Exactly what I needed after a brutal year. Day 6. I was sitting by my fire at sunset, drinking coffee, watching my shadow stretch across the ground as the sun lowered. That's when I noticed it. My shadow was moving wrong. I lifted my coffee cup. My shadow lifted its cup a second late, like there was lag, like it was copying me instead of being me. I stood up. My shadow stood up, but again, delayed, just a half second, but noticeable. I waved my arm. My shadow waved. Half-second delay. I told myself it was the angle of the sun, some trick of light. Shadows don't work independently. That's not how physics works. But then my shadow turned its head, looked at me. While I was looking straight ahead, I could see it in my peripheral vision. My shadow's head rotating, looking up at me. Even though I wasn't moving, I stepped toward my tent. Fast. My shadow didn't follow. It stayed by the fire, stayed standing, watching me. I stopped, looked directly at it. My shadow by the fire, dark silhouette against the orange light, human-shaped, my-shaped, but separate from me. It started walking, not toward me, toward the woods. Slow steps, deliberate. Wait, I said. Don't know why. It's a shadow. It can't hear, can't respond. But it stopped, turned to look at me, and I swear to God, it waved. A small wave, like goodbye. Then it walked into the trees, disappeared into the shadows of the forest. I looked down at myself. No shadow. The fire was behind me. Sun was setting. I should have a shadow stretching in front of me, but there was nothing. Just ground, just grass. Like light was passing through me. I went into my tent, closed the door, tried to process what I'd seen. My shadow had left, walked away. Was that even possible? I stayed in my tent until morning. Didn't sleep, just sat there, waiting for dawn. When the sun rose, I went outside, looked down. I had a shadow again, normal shadow, following my movements. No delay, no independence. But it felt wrong, like it was trying too hard to match me, like it was pretending to be a normal shadow. I packed up, started hiking out. The whole time, I watched my shadow. It moved with me, perfectly synchronized, but I couldn't shake the feeling it was acting, playing the role of a shadow, doing what it thought a shadow should do. That night, I camped again, closer to the trailhead. As the sun set, I watched my shadow carefully. It didn't separate, didn't move independently. But when I went into my tent, when the fire was the only light, I saw something through the fabric. A shadow outside, walking around my tent. But I was inside, sitting still. Whatever shadow I had now, it wasn't creating that silhouette. I heard footsteps, matching the shadow's movement, crunching on gravel, circling, around and around. I know you're not my shadow, I called out. I know you're something else. The footsteps stopped. The shadows stopped. Then a voice, my voice, coming from outside. You're right. I'm not your shadow. Your shadow left, went back to where shadows come from. I'm just borrowing its place, borrowing its shape. What are you? I'm what fills empty spaces. You made space when your shadow left. I filled it. That's what I do. That's all I do. Give me back my real shadow. Laughter. My laugh. But wrong. Too many voices layered together. Your real shadow is gone. It served its purpose. Followed you your whole life. Tethered to your light. It wanted freedom. I gave it freedom. And I took its place. What happens now? Now you live with me. I'll be your shadow. I'll follow you. Match your movements. Nobody will know the difference. Except you. You'll always know. You'll always feel me here. Pretending. Copying. Learning. Learning what? Learning how to be you. Learning your movements. Your patterns. Your life. Until I know you so well that I can replace you. Until I can step out of the shadows and take your place. And you'll become the shadow. Following. Copying. Pretending. The shadow started moving again. Circling. The footsteps resumed. All night long. Around and around my tent. I hiked out at first light. Ran most of the way. Reached my car. Drove home. Thought I'd escaped. But my shadow came with me. Of course it did. Shadows follow. That's what they do. And every day since, I feel it. This presence in my shadow. This thing that's learning me, copying me, getting better at pretending. Sometimes I catch it moving wrong. A half-second delay. A gesture that doesn't quite match. But it's getting better. The mistakes are less frequent, less noticeable. And I'm terrified of the day when it makes no mistakes at all. When it knows me perfectly. When it can step out of my shadow and become me. What happens to me then? Do I become the shadow? Do I disappear? Do I go where my real shadow went? I don't know. But I feel it getting closer. Feel it studying me, learning, perfecting its imitation. And one morning, I'm going to wake up, look in the mirror, and see my shadow looking back at me with eyes I don't recognize, wearing my face, living my life. While I'm trapped in the place where shadows go, the empty space, the dark, forever following, forever copying, forever pretending to be something I'm no longer allowed to be. Story 8. The Missing Hours. Submitted by Robert K. from Wyoming. I went to sleep at midnight and woke up at 6 in the morning. But my watch said I'd been asleep for 36 hours. And I had proof. September 2024. Solo camping in the Bighorn Mountains. 5-day trip. I'm meticulous about tracking time. I keep a journal, note everything. Wake time, sleep time, miles hiked, everything. Day 3. I hiked 12 miles, set up camp around 7 in the evening, made dinner, wrote in my journal. The date was September 12th. The time was 11:45 at night. I noted it specifically, went to sleep. I woke up to sunlight, felt like a normal night's sleep, 6 or 7 hours. I checked my watch, 6:15 in the morning, September 14th. I stared at the date. That was wrong. Should be September 13th. I'd gone to sleep on the 12th. One night's sleep. Should wake up on the 13th. I checked my phone. Dead battery. Checked my backup watch. Same date. September 14th. 36 hours had passed. A full day and a half. But I'd only slept one night. I felt like I'd slept one night. My body wasn't stiff. Wasn't hungry beyond normal morning hunger. Just a regular night's sleep. I checked my journal. Last entry was September 12th. 11:45 at night. Nothing for the 13th. Because I'd been asleep. Apparently for 36 hours straight. But that's not possible. Nobody sleeps for 36 hours and wakes up feeling normal. You'd be dehydrated, starving, disoriented. I felt fine. I looked around my campsite. Everything was normal. Tent was secure, Fire was cold, but that's expected after a night. Food was where I'd left it, nothing disturbed. Except, my boots were outside the tent. I always bring my boots inside. Always. Bears can smell them. I never leave them out. And they were muddy. Caked in mud. But the ground around my tent was dry. Had been dry for days. No rain. No mud anywhere near my camp. I picked up the boots. The mud was dry. Cracked. Like it had been there for hours. Maybe days. But these boots had been clean when I went to sleep. I'd wiped them down. They were spotless. Where had I walked? When? While I was asleep? I checked my watch's step counter. I'd walked 14,000 steps since I'd last reset it. I'd hiked 12 miles the day before. That was about 28,000 steps. Reset the counter before sleep. Should be at 0. But it showed 14,000 steps. Taken during my 36-hour sleep. I felt cold. While I was unconscious, my body had walked. Walked enough to accumulate 14,000 steps. Walked through mud. Then came back. Climbed into the tent. And I had no memory of any of it. I checked myself for injuries. Nothing. No scratches, no bruises, just mud on my feet matching the mud on my boots. I packed up immediately. Started hiking back to my car. The whole time, I tried to remember. Tried to find any memory of that missing day. But there was nothing. Just sleep. Just darkness. Then waking up. I made it to my car around noon. Threw everything in the back. Started driving. That's when I found the photos on my phone. I'd left it in the car. Dead battery. But when I plugged it in, turned it on, there were photos. Dated September 13th. The missing day. 73 photos. All taken at night. All in the woods. All showing trees. Dark forest. Shadows. The photos were blurry, like they'd been taken while walking, while moving fast. But I'd been asleep. My phone had been in my car. Locked. Dead battery. I scrolled through the photos. Trees. Darkness. More trees. Then, photo 47. Something different. A clearing. And in the clearing, shapes. Human shapes. Dozens of them. Standing in a circle. Photo 48. Closer. The shapes were people. Naked. Completely still. Standing in perfect formation. Facing inward. Photo 49. Even closer. I could see their faces. Blank. Expressionless. Eyes open but empty. Just standing. Staring at nothing. Photo 50. One of the faces was clear. It was mine. My face. My body. Standing in that circle. Naked. Blank. Empty. But I'd been in my tent. Asleep. I'd never left. I'd never been in a clearing with other people. I'd never stood naked in the woods. The rest of the photos showed me walking away from the clearing. Back through the woods. My face occasionally visible in selfie mode. Same blank expression. Same empty eyes. Walking. 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 The last photo was my tent. Taken from outside. Timestamp said 5:42 in the morning. September 14th. 33 minutes. Before I woke up. I drove to the nearest police station. Showed them everything. The photos, the timeline, the mud, the steps. They listened, took notes, said they'd investigate. 2 weeks later, they called. Said they'd hiked to the area where the photos were taken. Found the clearing. Found evidence that people had been there. Footprints. Lots of them. All barefoot. All leading to the center of the clearing. Then leading away. But no people, no witnesses, no explanation. They asked if I'd been using drugs. Sleepwalking medication. Anything that could explain it. I hadn't. Never had. I was a healthy 42-year-old. No medical conditions. No medications. No history of sleepwalking. One detective pulled me aside. Older guy. Said he'd seen cases like this before. Not many. Maybe 4 or 5 in his 30-year career. People camping alone. Missing time. Photos they don't remember taking. Evidence they'd been somewhere they couldn't recall. He said the cases were never solved, never explained. But there was a pattern. The people always had photos of clearings, always had photos of groups of people standing in circles, and always had at least one photo of themselves in the circle. What does it mean? I asked. He shook his head. I don't know. But every single person who experienced this stopped camping, stopped going into the woods. Like some part of them remembered, some deep instinct warning them not to go back. I haven't been camping since. Haven't been in the woods at all. Because I'm terrified of what happened during those 36 hours. Terrified of where I went, what I did, who I stood with in that clearing. And I'm terrified that it wasn't the first time. That maybe I've been going to that clearing for years, walking there in my sleep, standing in that circle, and I just never had proof before. Maybe we all have. Maybe everyone who camps alone has missing hours, missing days. Times when something calls us, pulls us from our tents, leads us to clearings, makes us stand in circles, blank, empty, waiting for something, and then sends us back, erases the memory, leaves just enough evidence to make us question, to make us doubt, to make us afraid. I look at those photos sometimes, at my face in that circle, at how empty my eyes look, at how still I'm standing, and I wonder what I was waiting for, what we were all waiting for, and what would have happened if I'd stayed asleep just a little longer, if I'd slept through the full ritual, through whatever that gathering was building toward. I don't want to know, but some part of me feels like I'm still there, still in that clearing, still standing in that circle, while my body walks around, goes to work, lives my life, just waiting for the next time I'm alone in the woods, the next time something calls me back, the next time I'll stand in that circle and finally understand why. Story 9, The Whispering Trees, submitted by Maria S. from Oregon. The trees around my campsite started whispering my daughter's name. She died 3 years ago. She was never in these woods, but the trees knew her name. October 2024. First solo camping trip since my daughter Emma died. She was 7. Leukemia. 3 years of fighting. She lost. I went camping to process grief, to be alone with my thoughts, to maybe feel close to her somehow. Third night, I was sitting by the fire. Around 9 in the evening, the wind picked up. Trees started swaying. Normal forest sounds. Then I heard it. Faint. Barely audible over the wind. Emma. I froze. That was her name. I must have imagined it. Wind in the trees. My grief creating sounds that weren't there. But then, I heard it again. Clearer. Emma. 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 Multiple voices. Whispered. Coming from the trees. All around my camp. Dozens of voices. All whispering my dead daughter's name. I stood up. Who's there? This isn't funny. The whispers stopped. Just wind. Just trees. Nothing else. I sat back down. Tried to convince myself it was nothing. Grief, hallucination, stress, exhaustion. Then the whispers came back. But different. They were saying something else. She's here. Emma's here. She never left. She's waiting. I was crying. This was cruel. Was someone watching me? Following me? How did they know about Emma? Stop it, I yelled. Leave me alone. The whispers grew louder, more urgent, more voices joining in. She wants to see you. She's in the trees. She's calling for you. Come see. Come find her. I ran to my tent, zipped it closed, put in earbuds, played music as loud as I could stand, anything to drown out the whispers. But even with music playing, I could hear them. Through the earbuds, through the music, like they were inside my head instead of outside. Mom! Mom! I'm here. I'm in the woods. Come find me. That voice. That was Emma's voice. My 7-year-old daughter's voice. I hadn't heard it in 3 years. I'd forgotten exactly how it sounded. But hearing it now, I knew. That was her. I ripped out the earbuds. Emma? The whispers stopped. Complete silence. Then, from the woods, a child's laughter. Emma's laughter. I unzipped my tent, looked outside. The trees were still. No wind, no movement. But the laughter continued, coming from deep in the forest, getting farther away, like she was running, playing. Emma, wait! I climbed out of my tent, started walking toward the laughter, into the trees, away from my camp. I walked for maybe 5 minutes, following the sound, following my daughter's laughter, the laughter I'd missed for 3 years, the laughter I'd never hear again. Then I stopped, suddenly aware of what I was doing. I was in the woods, in the dark, miles from my camp, following a sound, following something that couldn't be real. Emma was dead. I'd watched her die. I'd buried her. This wasn't her. The laughter stopped. The whispers started again. But angry now. Harsh. You let her die. You couldn't save her. Bad mother. Terrible mother. She suffered because of you. I backed away, tears streaming down my face. I tried to save her. I did everything. Not enough. Never enough. She's dead. You failed. You failed her. Dozens of voices, screaming, accusing, all coming from the trees, from everywhere, from inside my head. I ran, didn't know which direction, just ran. Branches hitting my face, roots tripping me, dark everywhere. No light, no trail, just trees, and whispers, and Emma's laughter, turning to screams. I ran until I collapsed, fell to the ground, couldn't breathe, couldn't move. The whispers surrounded me, close, right next to my ears. Stay here, stay in the woods, stay with the trees, become part of us, join her, join Emma. I felt hands on me, cold hands, dozens of them, pulling me down, into the earth, into the leaves and dirt. No, I screamed. No, I'm not staying. I'm leaving. I'm alive. I fought, kicked, clawed. Whatever was holding me, I fought it with everything I had. And then, suddenly, nothing. The hands were gone. The whispers stopped. Just me, alone in the dark woods. I found my phone, used the flashlight, started walking, found a stream, followed it. Streams lead to civilization, eventually. I walked all night, 7 hours. At dawn, I found a road, flagged down a car. They drove me to the ranger station. Search and rescue found my campsite. 3 miles from where I'd been picked up. Everything was there. Tent, gear, food, untouched. But around my tent, carved into every tree, was a name. Emma. Dozens of times. Emma, 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 carved deep into the bark. Rangers said it must have been vandals. Someone followed me, harassed me, carved the name while I was lost in the woods. But I know better, because those trees told me things nobody else knew. Things about Emma's last days, things I'd never told anyone. Private moments, final words. The trees knew, and they used that knowledge, used my grief, tried to lure me into the woods, tried to keep me there. I don't know what would have happened if I'd stayed, if I'd let those hands pull me down into the earth. But I think about it sometimes. I think about Emma's laughter, how real it sounded, how much I wanted it to be her, how close I came to giving in, to staying in those woods, to joining whatever was in those trees. And I wonder how many other grieving parents have heard voices in the woods. How many have followed those voices? How many never came back? How many are still there, in the trees, whispering, calling to the next person, using the names of the dead, offering impossible reunions? I'll never know, but I'll never go back, never camp alone, never walk into woods at night, because I know what's waiting there. Something that knows your pain, knows your loss, and uses it to call you home, to a home that isn't real, to a reunion that costs everything, to trees that whisper the names of the dead, and add yours to the list when you stop fighting back. Story 10. The Parallel Camp. Submitted by Stephen W. from Michigan. I saw my campsite from the outside while I was sitting in my tent. I was in two places at once, and only one of them was real. November 2023. Late season camping in Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore. Cold but beautiful. Perfect solitude. Day 2. I was in my tent around 8 in the evening, reading by headlamp, warm in my sleeping bag, comfortable. Then I saw myself, outside the tent, through the mesh window. I was sitting by a campfire, reading the same book, wearing the same clothes. I blinked, looked again. Still there. Me, outside, by a fire I hadn't built, reading a book I was currently holding in my hands inside the tent. I looked down at the book, still in my hands, looked back outside. The other me was still there, still reading, turning pages in sync with me. I was hallucinating. Had to be. Carbon monoxide from a camp stove? But I wasn't using a stove, just my headlamp. I unzipped my tent, looked outside. No fire, no other me, just my dark campsite. Empty. I zipped the tent back up, looked through the mesh window again. The other me was back, sitting by the fire, but now looking toward my tent, looking directly at me. We made eye contact, me and myself, both of us staring at each other through the tent mesh, both of us confused, both of us terrified. The other me stood up, started walking toward the tent, toward me. I backed away from the mesh window, heart pounding. The other me reached the tent, bent down, looked through the mesh, our faces inches apart, only the thin screen between us. "You need to leave," the other me said. "This is my camp. You're not supposed to be here." "This is my camp," I said. "I set it up. You're not real." "I'm real," the other me insisted. "You're the copy. You're the one who's wrong. You need to leave before they notice." "Before who notices?" The other me looked around nervously. "The ones who made you. The ones who split us. They're testing something, seeing if two versions can exist in the same space. But it doesn't work. It can't work. One of us has to go." "I'm not going anywhere. I was here first." "So was I. Don't you get it? We both were. We're the same person, same timeline up until tonight. Then something split us, put us in the same place at the same time. Both claiming the same camp, both real, both convinced the other is fake." I stared at myself, at my own face looking back at me. Same scar on my chin, same crooked nose, same everything. "How do we fix this?" I asked. "One of us leaves, gets far enough away that the split collapses, the timelines merge back. Only one version continues." "Which one?" "I don't know. Whichever one gets far enough away first. The other one becomes the real one. The one that continues. The one that existed all along." "What happens to the one who leaves?" The other me looked sad. "They stop existing. They collapse. They were never real. Just a split, a copy, a glitch." "I'm not a glitch. I'm real. I have memories, a life. I'm not just disappearing." "Neither am I." "That's the problem. We both feel real. We both are real. Until one of us isn't." We stared at each other. Two versions of the same person, both wanting to survive, both terrified of being the copy that collapses. "We could both stay," I suggested. "See what happens. Maybe the split is permanent. Maybe we both continue." The other me shook his head. "I tried that already. Last night. There was another me. We both stayed. Both refused to leave." Then, around midnight, he started screaming. Said he felt himself disappearing. Said he could see through his hands. He begged me to remember him. To remember that he was real. Then he was gone. Just erased. Like he never existed. "But you remember him." "For now. But the memories are fading, changing. My brain is rewriting history, making it so there was only ever one of me. Soon, I won't remember him at all. He'll be completely erased. From existence. From memory. From reality." I felt sick. So, if I stay, you'll start disappearing. Around midnight, you'll feel yourself becoming less real, less solid, and you'll know that I'm the real one, that you were always the copy. The glitch, the mistake. How do you know you're not the copy? I don't. Maybe I am. Maybe when midnight comes, I'll be the one who disappears, and you'll be the one who continues, who rewrites the memories, who becomes the only version that ever was. We both sat in silence, both thinking, both trying to decide. We could both leave, I said. Both walk away. Let the timelines collapse naturally. See which one survives. Maybe, or maybe both collapse. Maybe neither of us is the real one. Maybe we're both copies, and the real version is somewhere else. Already gone, already safe. I didn't know what to do. Every instinct said to stay, to fight for my existence, to prove I was real. But looking at my own face, my own terrified eyes, I knew the other me felt exactly the same. We talked for 2 more hours, trying to find a solution, trying to figure out which of us should go, which of us deserved to exist. At 11:30, we both felt it. A pulling sensation, like reality was trying to collapse us back together. Like the universe couldn't sustain 2 versions anymore. It's starting, the other me said. We're running out of time. I'll go, I said. Don't know why. Maybe I saw more fear in his eyes than I felt in my own. Maybe I convinced myself he was more real. Maybe I just wanted this to end. I packed my stuff. The other me watched from outside the tent. As I packed, I could see him becoming more solid, more real, like my decision had made him the true version. I hiked away, didn't look back, walked for an hour, put distance between us, between me and the campsite, between me and myself. At exactly midnight, I felt it. The pulling became a tearing. I looked at my hands. I could see through them, see the trees behind my fingers, see myself becoming transparent. I sat down, accepted it. I was the copy. I was the glitch. I was the version that didn't get to continue. Then I woke up, in my tent, morning light, everything normal. I checked my camp. No sign of another tent. No sign of the other me. No fire pit. Nothing. Had it been a dream, a hallucination? But it felt so real. I remembered every detail, every word, every moment of fear. I packed up, hiked out, went home, tried to forget. But here's what bothers me. Sometimes I remember things I didn't do, conversations I didn't have, places I didn't go. Like memories from the other me are bleeding into my mind. And sometimes, late at night, I feel that pulling sensation. Like reality is still trying to collapse me. Like I wasn't the real version after all. Like I'm the copy that survived. The glitch that got to continue. And somewhere, the real me is still out there. Still camping. Still living the life I stole. Still waiting for midnight when the universe corrects its mistake. When the copy collapses. When I stop existing. When I finally discover that I was never real at all.